Chair recognizes the senator from Woodbury, Senator Bertrand.
Thank you, Mr. President. I told myself I was going to stay on script, so I'm going to stay on script. But first, I want to thank Senator Carlin. Man, I didn't know you were that eloquent. That was pretty good. That was really, really good today. It hit me, brother. And when I envisioned us moving or leaving the Senate, again, I'm off script. I always envisioned that being Senator Anderson. And I'll be honest with you, that was really good. I mean, that was you must have channeled Bill right there, because that was pretty good. And I thank you for that. You never know what that feeling is going to be when you see enough of these retirement speeches, when you're sitting there, and it's pretty overwhelming. So if I seem a little numb right now, it doesn't happen very often, but I'll stay on script. So first, again, I want to thank you, and I rise in support today of Senate Resolution 119, but probably not for the same reason as most people, because I probably agree with most of you quietly that it is time for me to go. It's kind of ironic. I first want to give my best wishes to my fellow 2018 retirees, Senator Horn, McCoy, Senator Shelgren, Senator Dvorsky. It's ironic we were on the same day because we both have the same temperament, the same good looks. It's just, it really works out. So it was very special to share this day with you. I can't believe it's been 8 years. 8 years. As many of you know or may not know, I was elected in 2010 by the large margin of 139 votes. Part of what is now called the Tea Party movement. We didn't know what the Tea Party movement was. We didn't sign up for it. We just kind of came in as a bunch of people that had never held office before and got fired up and put our name on a ballot. I had never held a public office, and the first time I had entered this building, the Capitol, was the day I turned in my nomination papers. People asked me and have asked me over the years, why did you run for public office? And my response, I believe, has stayed very consistent over the years. Senator Zahn, you'd appreciate this. I was tired of people who were not in business making decisions for those of us who are in business. That really was the genesis of the movement in 2010. I sincerely believe, and I talk term limits a lot, and although the temptation to run again is very strong, and it is very strong, and the power of incumbency and this whole family thing, it's a good gig. But I said 2 terms, and 2 terms it is. I believe more of us need to think that way. So, the last few months, being your retirement year from the Senate is like the last day of summer camp, when you find out all these fun facts about the people that you worked with over the years, always right before you leave. You remember that when you go to camp? It's like you always met your best friend on the last day. So here's some of the things you may not know or may not care to know about me, but it's my day and you're going to hear them anyway. Some of the things you may not know about me over the last 8 years. So again, a lot of people hinted around or talked about, I was the first Republican over 30 years to win the Sioux City seat. I'm very proud of that. I talk about that a lot at the stump, because if anybody knows that district, man, we are Sioux City blue. We are hardcore labor. We are working people. And the last Republican hold that was in 1980. And I'm very proud that I carried that district, because I do believe that, when you look in the dictionary and you see Sioux City, I represent it. District 7 is one of the smallest geographical districts in the state. If you pull out the map and look at it, it's really a compacted, dense urban area. It's very tiny. I can walk border to border when I beat doors. But the ironic part is a lot of people don't really realize is yet I was born and raised on a pig farm. And I continue to farm with my father and my brother. So everybody thinks I'm this big urban guy. And it's kind of nice because I got 1 foot on the farm and I got 1 foot in the city. And it's played well for me over the years. It gives you perspective. When I first entered Des Moines, I kind of came in on a rough start. As Baker in the room with Baker and Cattenhorn, them guys, it was kind of if you remember in 2010, I sued the Democratic Party. I look back now, and it seems so adolescent, but man, I was pissed. The ads they ran were terrible. Oh, they're terrible. And I get it. They were trying to hold on to the seat. And I look back now, and I can't believe I did it. I don't know if I wish I would have done it. And on the day that the judgment came down, I won $213,000. And I had my day in court. But the reality of it is I never saw a dime of that money because the Supreme Court over there, those communists took it back. But I did win. And again, looking back now, it seems like a million years ago, and you got to kind of chuckle about it. You know, in 2014, after being 4 years, being promised we're going to be in the majority, 4 years of being in the minority, it's brutal. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you guys get out of bed in the morning. It's terrible. I was there, man, 6 years, and it is horrible. And but in 2014, I was reelected by 3,500 votes. So I think the people of Sioux City understood what we were trying to do down here, understood who I was representing, and sent me back for a second term. There's some things in the minority I kid around about, and Chappie, was like, do you dare bring that up? And when I remember when we lost the majority, we didn't gain the majority, I think it was in 14 or 16, I don't know what year it was, and I think it was Dix made me, or it might have been Bain, made me the chair of the Economic Growth Committee, ranking member, and I think I hold the record for the only ranking member that never showed up at the beginning or any meeting in between, and I was never missed. No one ever knew I was gone. I didn't go to one meeting. Another fun fact you may or may not know is I own one suit. This is it. That's black. I have 4 different shirts and 2 ties, and no one ever cares, and no one has ever said, is that the same suit you wear day to day? I got about 10, 12 days left, so don't come up there. It's the same suit. So, in 7 years, I have never been present for the last day of session. I've heard there's some Latin word they use at the end. I've never heard it. And I've never actually seen the last day of session. My feeling was that the deal was over and it was time to go home. As you know, I'm a karma guy. And at times I get a little freaked out, as Senator Capuchin talked about, because, my last seat before was down there was Pat Ward's, and the seat I sit in now is Senator Singh's. And that freaks me out a little bit, but every morning they are in my prayers. They were good people. And ironically, being in these seats, you do take a moment every day and think of those people and the sacrifices they made coming here. I do believe I hold the record for publicly asking for leadership change in the Iowa Senate. I have 2. I asked for McKinley and I asked for Dix. And I think the reality is if I stay another year, I'll probably ask for Utmeyer. So this past year, I received my master's degrees in organizational leadership for absolutely no reason other than to see if I could do it, and someone said I couldn't. But I now have my master's in organizational leadership. I just had something to do. I ran 4 marathons since I've been here, and in the past 8 years, I've survived a stroke, a tumor, pneumonia. I've gained 22 pounds, yet in 48 years, I have never had a cavity. That is a reality. There's something you said there. And sometimes when we talk about this place feels like a prison. So I think it's ironic that I'm getting out on the same month and the same year as my good friend Kent Sorensen. Same year. Same month. Hey, Kent's a good friend. Oh, that sounded a lot better last night in the mirror. I made myself chuckle at that one a little bit. It was scratching out, putting it back in. So legislative, I've had some fun, some successes. Simple things early on, like the mixed infusion drink. I don't know if you guys remember that, the infusion bill that Groundsville let me run. That was kind of cool. They aimed a drink downtown after us. Groundbreaking, earth-shattering. Big Sioux City. Commercial property taxes. I ran commercial property taxes. Very proud of the work we did there in a bipartisan way. Some people regret it, but I think it's still real money to real business people. Right to try legislation. Senator Danielson, you're right. It's real. It was brought to me by a constituent, and it's one of those things I'm proud of. I think it's going to go national, and regardless of what people say, it is helping people. It is giving people hope. 20 weeks, 20 weeks, the abortion debate last year, that little rant right here in this spot cost me politically a lot. Cost me a lot. It cost me a chairmanship. It cost me a friend. It cost me losing a fellow senator. And I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change that moment for anything. Stand your ground legislation, the Second Amendment. And of course, probably one of the highlights was the deal we cut in the basement in really landing the Highway $20, which is going to be completed in October. It's a big win for us. So I'm very proud of those accomplishments. So first, the apologies. I got a couple apologies I want to get out there. So I know there is a stigma out there that we politicians lie. And after being here 8 years, I disagree. Because as a legislator in this building, your word is all we have. The public gets frustrated when it tries to pin us down for straight answers because, to no fault of their own, they don't understand how this game is played. and how issues are all connected, and decisions here are fluid and based upon priorities in the deal-making process. Politics is mean and sometimes cruel, yet I must admit, I do like the game. Only twice have I laid in bed this last 8 years and regretted my actions here in this chamber. First was my first year here. Senator Dotzler, I don't know if you remember this or not. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Yeah. We were out having cocktails my freshman year, and I was trying to play the social game like it was Big Brother. You know, I'm not playing the social game. And we were talking about some manufactured home bill that was coming up, and it was your bill, and Groundswell said, go find a couple votes. So we talked about it, and you said, hey, would you be willing to break party? And I said, yeah, I would do that for you, Bill. I said, you know, I'll try to pick up a few chips. And sure enough, when the vote came up, I think it was Senator Kettering came down, and I was sitting, I think we were right in that area there, and they whipped me hard on the floor. I don't know if anybody remembers that or not. And I changed my vote on the floor, and we took down the bill. We took down your bill, Bill. And I remember laying in bed that night saying, you know, I'll never let that happen again. So I apologize for that. I felt terrible. It was early on. It was a breach of trust, and I can tell you that it never happened again. But I wanted to apologize for that because it put a little damper on us for a couple of years, but we got over it.